What's up, y'all, man? It's this rumor going around that Gervonta Davis want to come to 147, and there's a lot of people saying it's possibly can be Keith Thurman. Let me tell y'all right now, Keith Thurman will smash Gervonta Davis, and for two, Floyd Mayweather is not finna put Gervonta Davis in a welterweight match versus Keith Thurman. That's not even Mayweather style. That's too much of a big risk. If he fight anybody at welterweight, it'll be someone like Devin Alexander or someone like a Andre Berto. Andre Berto, when the last time he been in the ring? Andre Berto is not Andre Berto anyway since he got beat up by Robert Guerrero. Um, Devin Alexander, he's a guy that moved up in weight. He moved up from 140 to 147, so he would not be what you would say bigger than Gervonta Davis. He may be taller, a little bit taller, but not, you know what I'm saying, like overly massively bigger. Y'all people are so gullible, man. Leonard Ellaby said, yeah, Gervonta Davis can fight at a big fight at welterweight. What Leonard Ellaby means is not a really great opponent at welterweight. He just saying a big fight because they look at Tank Davis as this big, huge pay-per-view star, or on his way to being a big, huge pay-per-view star, which I don't see it. But would they put him in the ring versus Mikey Garcia? I doubt it. Mikey Garcia is a big risk. Mikey Garcia is very durable. Mikey Garcia is very technically sound. What he is, he's not really a welterweight himself. So now he wouldn't have to come in the ring, you know what I'm saying, trying to bulk up. He can just come in the ring. They both will probably come in the ring under the welterweight limit, but Mikey Garcia can come in the ring under the welterweight limit because Gervonta Davis is the same size. So it would not be like he's fighting Earl Spence. Will he put him in the ring versus I know another name someone threw out there. I know it was Keith Thurman, Andre Berto. I just put Devin Alexander in there because I know people forgetting about Devin Alexander is still out there. Gervonta Davis, it's another welterweight, but I don't think he'll be in the ring versus Keith Thurman definitely, and I don't think they'll put him in the ring versus Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia still got a lot of fight left in him. A lot of he still looked real good. Now, the Earl Spence fight, he did not look good in that fight, but he just looked good in the fights previous. So I don't think he'll be in the ring versus them. Gervonta Davis right now, Mayweather and them are trying to make Gervonta Davis this big star, this big fighter, this big showcase. They say they're not worried about who's the best and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or belts or this nature. But he did fight for a version of the 140-pound title. I don't know how he did that when Josh Taylor is the undisputed guy at 140. So, look, this whole Mayweather thing with Gervonta Davis is going to be a circus for a while. We're not going to see Gervonta Davis in the ring versus T.O., maybe Ryan Garcia. We're not going to see him in there versus Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson. None of those guys. Because Leonard Ellaby and them they believe that he can sell 500,000 pay-per-views off of just fighting anyone, which Barrios of the world, Leo Santa Cruz, those type of guys. He get in the ring versus Keith Thurman, he gonna get smashed. That's gonna stop the money train. Mayweather's not gonna stop his potential money train. That's just not Mayweather's style. We all know Mayweather's not gonna do that. So I don't even know why people even entertaining the fact that he gonna fight Keith Thurman. That's a joke. Keith Thurman is still a really good fighter. Yes, Keith Thurman has to dedicate himself more to the sport as far as keeping himself in shape in between fights. Now I've been seeing interviews of him in the gym, so hopefully he's doing that. But I can see him fighting. I can see Gervonta Davis fighting Berto. We know Leonard Ellaby call everything that Gervonta Davis does a big fight, a big huge pay-per-view event. Let me say this, man. Gervonta Davis is a good fighter, right? He's not. I don't see him being this great fighter. I just don't see it. I don't see it, because you cannot navigate him through all these other fighters that people see that are credible fighters. People like the TOs of the world, the Devin Haney's of the world, the Josh Taylors of the world, the Ramirez's of the world. You can't Regis Prograis. You can't keep on navigating him around those guys and think this man gonna be a great fighter. You know, eventually y'all won't have to put him in there with other fighters of his caliber and see how great he is, because iron sharpens iron. We have to see him in incredible fights. If you want to say that he's this big pay-per-view star, then he have to have these pay-per-view fights, these fights that's going to catapult him to being a big pay-per-view star. I'm looking at the landscape, man, and yes, Pacquiao is still really good. And if Errol Spence beat Pacquiao, that's a really good name on his resume. That's a really good win. But Pacquiao is not going to be the fighter that's going to catapult Errol Spence to greatness. You know what I'm saying? Like, Errol Spence is already, what, 30, 31 years old, about to be 31. By the time, when Oscar De La Hoya fought, I'm just gonna put it out there. When Oscar De La Hoya fought Pernell Whitaker was like 32. So he was like 32, 33. He was like 10 years younger than Pacquiao. And De La Hoya was like 24. They were not saying that Whitaker is going to catapult De La Hoya to greatness. And De La Hoya was 24 and Whitaker was 33. So De La Hoya had fought him at 24. I believe he fought Chavez at 25, 26, somewhere up in there. Maybe 27, somewhere up in there. And they wasn't saying that. So he fought two legends under the age of 30. And Errol Spence is like 30, 31 years old and just not about to fight one of those legends. That tells you a lot about this era of boxing, man. How they just slow footing around. Like, they are tiptoeing. These guys are like in their 30s and they still haven't had one of those powwow fights or that powwow name that you like, man, that guy really did something. Now, the Charlo brother, he had a chance to be undisputed at 154. If you're not going to have the powwow names, at least become undisputed and at least let someone know that you dominated a division. You know what I'm saying? Like, Terrence Crawford, to me, doesn't have a powwow name like that Pacquiao name. He got some really good names, and Carol Brook, you know what I'm saying? And guys, and Victor Postal at the time when he fought Victor Postal, and Dago when he fought Dago at the time. So he got some really good names and some really good victories. But at least he did become the king at 140. That's he at least did that. So if you're not gonna have that powwow name, you got to at least be the king of the division. Show us that you're the king of the division, because really you only can fight who's ever in your division. You don't have control of fighting guys that are not in your division at that time that you compete in the division. But at least I want to see some dominance in the division and you becoming on top, the king of the mountain. You know what I'm saying? Josh Taylor now is the king of the mountain at 140. We don't have to discuss who's the best at 140. Now we got to discuss who's the best at 160, 147, 135, 130, heavyweight, light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? We have to discuss who's the best, but we don't have to discuss who's the best at 140. It's period. It's in the story. So Gervonta Davis, good fighter, still a lot to prove. Lot to prove. Just like a lot of these fighters got a lot to prove. But he's not going to be, I'm not going to pay for any Gervonta Davis pay-per-view fights. And unless he fights somebody that's credible to me, I'm never going to pay for none of his pay-per-view fights. I don't see him as this pay-per-view star that you could just put him on pay-per-view versus the Barrios of the world, or this guy, and that's not acceptable to me. But let me know what y'all think. Gervonta Davis will get smashed by Keith Thurman. He's not going to fight Keith Thurman, people. So just stop the whole Keith Thurman thing. That whole Keith Thurman thing is just out there just to help boost up the excitement with Gervonta Davis coming to welterweight, and he's going to fight Berto, or he's going to fight Devin Alexander, or someone of that. He might fight Robert Guerrero. I forgot about Robert Guerrero. He'll probably fight Robert Guerrero. Robert Guerrero came up from 130. Robert Guerrero, I believe, came up from 130, 135. So he'll fight Robert Guerrero. I'm out, man.